Today we're going to look at the 2018 free response exam. We're going to do question 2 WordPair. So first of all, please go onto my course website. I've put a link in the description, and you're going to get 2 files. You're going to get this CSA 2018 PDF that has a question in it. And you're going to go over and get question 2 WordPair.zip. That has the BlueJ project folder in it. All right, so once you have those 2 files, let's go ahead and take a look at the question. So here it is. We're going to be doing question 2, which is about a word pair. So in this question, they give us this class called word pair. So this is actually, the object that gets contained in an array list. So look further down, they also have another class called word pair list. And in here, they describe an array list, and we sort of have to work with this. So part A involves setting up pairs of words in the constructor, and then part B is where we have to count up the number of pairs that match. So let's first of all look at part A, and as always, please read through this question carefully and make sure you understand it. I'm going to go ahead and write the code for it. So it looks to me like we have to take in a parameter of a type array, and then we have to go through all the words in that parameter, and we have to sort of, match them up in this clever way. So in the example here, they say, okay, match up, 1 with 2, 1 with 3, so we get these, and then you go and you match the 2 with the 3. Once you use a word, you pretty much, what does it say? You can only use it once or something like that. Okay, anyway, example 2, so the more the merrier. So you match, the more, the merrier. So that's the first row here. And then you go on to more, and then more merrier, right? And you get these 2, and then finally get the merrier. So it seems to me like we're going to have to do 2 loops, right? You loop across this once, and every time you do an outer loop, you need to do this inner loop where you pick up words that are further on down. Okay, so I think I got the gist of it. So let's go ahead and write the code, all this, and then here we are. So I've got my BlueJ project folder here. I've got the word pair list file open. Here it is. So we're going to write our code in this file. Okay, so starting with part A, what I first need to do is I have to initialize all pairs. So here I've got it declared, but I do need to initialize it. So that should be pretty easy. All pairs gets new array list. It's of type word pair. Okay, so that should take care of that. So that's basically the first thing we need to do is get this initialized. So now that we have our array list in which we can place word pairs, I need to loop through this words array, and then I need to match words up, using that method that we saw in the question. So here we are in this example, and then this example. So how are we going to do that? Well, it looks to me like we're going to have to use 2 loops. So let's go ahead and do that. I mean, it should be pretty obvious. Okay, so I'm going to have to loop through this array. So let me do an outer loop for int I get 0, I less than words length plus. Okay, so there's my outer loop. Now I'm going to have to do an inner loop. So let me just, put in what I would usually do. I can't use I have to pick another variable. So, what comes after I, it's j. So this is what we usually use. So int j equals 0. Okay, so let me just do this. J gets words length j plus plus. So that, basically just sets it up. So what would this give us? Let me first of all just create the pairs. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to create word pair objects, right? And, with the word pair objects, let me just pull this up. Here's a word pair class. So I need to give it some first word, some second word, and then, that joins them together into this object. Okay, so what if I just did this? So I'm going to have to make a word pair object. So word pair, maybe I could call it couple gets new word pair. And then, obviously I'm going to have to pull words from the array list. So I could do this, words I, and then I can go ahead and do words J. So that would give me the words at those particular indexes. Now, what I need to do next is add them in. So it's going to be all pairs add, and then I just put that in. Okay, I just did this to set it up basically, but you could probably recognize that we got some problems here. I'm starting my outer loop from 0, up to the end of that words array, and I'm also starting my inner loop from 0 up to the end. It's not going to give us quite the behavior that we expect. So let's go ahead and run it and see what we get, and just sort of compare. Oh yeah, test. I gotta do the test bench. So we get a lot more than we would expect. I mean, just looking at the first one, we're supposed to get only 3 entries, but I'm seeing a lot more. I get 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't get that. I should only get this 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3. This is obviously wrong. So, where did we go off the rails? Well, the problem is we didn't choose the correct boundaries. So we start at 0, we go up towards that length. That's probably not the best idea. And then, same thing with the inner loop. If you think about what we're doing here, what we're doing, start 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3, and then 2, 3, right? So the outer loop would pretty much only go up to, but not including the last one, right? So, here, the more the merrier, the more the merrier. Okay, and then you go to more, and more merrier, and then you go to the merrier, and then you stop. So really, the outer loop would only include, in this case, the first 3 words, and then it would leave out the last one. So we're not going up to words at length. We're actually going up to words at length -1. So that's probably the first clue that we should, incorporate. So, words at length -1. So that should be obvious. So given that that's the case, we can now go ahead and look at the inner loop. So obviously we're not starting our inner loop at 0, right? We have to start 1 beyond 0. Okay, so, if our outer loop started here, the inner loop would say, okay, we'll pick up the more, the merrier. Then you go, your outer loop goes to more, so you're not starting your inner loop there, you're actually, the merrier, right? And then so on and so forth. So it seems to me that your inner loop will start 1 beyond whatever the outer loop I is, and then just keep going to the end. So you're not starting at index j equals 0, you're actually starting at I plus 1. Okay, so it's a very subtle little change, but hopefully that should make things clear. Yeah, you're going from I plus 1 all the way to the end. So this second boundary is right. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if that works. So if I've done this successfully, I should see a nice change. And just resize this. Okay, so I think that's much better. So just looking at the first one and comparing it to the question, we get this 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, right? And I believe that if you compare it to the question, there it is, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3. So that seems to work. And then, the more the merrier. Well, it goes a little bit off, but, the more, the merrier, more merrier, and then the merrier. Okay, so that does work as well. So that tells me that, I'm pretty confident that this code that I wrote here is the correct way of doing it. Okay, so the next part is part B, where we have to create this method called num matches. So this should be a little bit more straightforward. So let me go ahead and work on that. Okay, so let's come down here and consider part B. All right, so what do we need to do? We need to do this method called num matches. So we need to loop across all pairs, and we need to figure out which of these WordPair objects contain the same word, the first word being the same as the second word. So that would be a count of 1, and then here, red, so, we increment count, so that makes a count of 2. So out of all these, it will return 2. So 2 of these word pairs actually contain, a word that's equal, so the same word, in the first slot and the second slot. Okay, the rest of these not. So the red, that's not equal, the fox, not equal, right? We're only looking for cases where the first word in the word pair is the same as the second word. Okay, so that should be pretty straightforward. So let me make a variable called count. And let's go ahead and just loop across that array list all pairs. Now, I could do it in one of two ways. So I could use a for loop or for each loop. I think I'll just use a for each loop because it's a little bit easier. So for word pair, and then I'll just call it item in all pairs. Okay, so that's my for each loop. So in order to determine if the first word is the same as the second, I have to actually pull each one out, right? So let me say string first get item dot, so if you look back at the word pair class, you do get this these two methods called get first and get second. So these will retrieve the first word and the second word from within the object, right? We need to look inside the object and see what the first word is and what the second word is. So those two methods will enable us to do that. String first, string second, same thing, item dot get second. All right, now that we have those two words pulled out, I need to examine them and determine if they're equal. And if they're equal, we go ahead and we increment count. So that's pretty easy. You just use a conditional, right? So you just say, okay, well, first dot equals, and then we have second. Then we know we're in a situation whereby, we have to increment count. So let me just say count plus plus. And that's pretty much it. So after we finish up looping across that all pairs array list, we'll have a count of all the ones that did have equal first and second words. So the last step is, I need to return an int, so let me go ahead and return that count. So return count. Okay, so let's go ahead and compile and run tests. So I get a 2, and then, just thinking about what the question said, I do believe that the answer that we should get back was 2, so that does seem to work. Okay, so there's one last thing, and it is this. I do have a JUnit test bench here, so let me just click on run tests. That we get, and we do get all 10 out of 10 test cases working, so that tells me my code is fine. Okay, so that concludes the 2018 free response question to WordPair. It is complete. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.